Hello, Storytales, the Storytelling Ron. So this is the answer, church. We're living... The earth is an insane asylum, right? We're in an asylum. This is an insane asylum. The problem is, the issue is, who's running it? Today, we have pagans running the asylum. You don't want pagans running your life. You want Christians to run your life. Why do you want Christians to run your life? Because we Christians are reserved. Reserved, we're, whatever the word is, we're conservative, we're concerned, we're thoughtful, we're discerning, we're discriminating. We also require several of us to make a decision before we make a decision. Pagans don't have that. Pagans always gravitate towards a dictator, a Marxism, a tyranny. Marxism is just paganism. It's the same thing. It's where someone controls your life. So this is the film The Essential Church, and here's the website. And this is the documentary about, and I just watched it last night. Of course, I lived through it, so I just want to go over it real quick. And what the answer here is freaking Newsom. But this is, what happened. There's a trailer. It's a 2-hour movie, documentary. It's really good. It really kind of covers everything that even I didn't know some of the stuff. I knew most of it, though. But, you can get a Blu-ray if you want, DVD, whatever. There's some books, I think, like learning stuff. The point is The Essential Church. Oh, there's the tent we had on the parking lot. I remember that. So you really need to watch this, because who stood up to the government? It was a bunch of churches. I mean, I think there were a few isolated people, but it was primarily the church. The church is what stood up to the government, and we all as Christians or as people should submit to a government, because we need civility. We need a way of running things. But that government needs to be just. And the church is actually an equal to the government, not under the government. As much as we submit to the government doesn't submit to the church, but the church doesn't submit to the government either. The church submits to God, and the government should submit to God as well. Not to the church, because different churches and different groups have different things that they do. But there is some basic 10 commandments. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not take people's property. Thou shalt not steal. And this is the government as well should be complying with this. Honor the mother and father. So do policies that take care of the family. Have a Sabbath, which means make sure that people have a break at least once a week. Don't blaspheme. See, we Christians don't blaspheme, right? We don't blaspheme Christ, and we don't blaspheme Muhammad. We don't blaspheme the Hindus. We don't blaspheme you atheists. But you atheists believe in blasphemy. You believe in saying goddamn and Jesus effing Christ and all that. Well, why don't you blaspheme Muhammad and Allah then? Come on, let's see it in the movies. Let's see you do that. Why don't you do that? We just don't believe in doing it because we don't believe in insulting people. When we talk about our faith, when we have debates, we don't believe in insulting people. We don't believe in being churlish or whatever, being chagrin or mocking and scoffing. We don't believe in that. But atheists, you guys love to mock and scoff. So I see you do it to God and Christ quite easily. But I don't see much of it going on in the movies against other religions. Drinking my coffee, enjoying my morning. So the answer is church. The reason we are seeing the insanity today, and it's throughout history, there's this equilibrium. And when you've got church in the society, the amount of absurdity, reprobate behavior lowers and becomes more civilized. I don't care, I don't care if you want to disagree with him or not, but that I'm reading Communion by Tom Holland. Tom Holland is an atheist historian, the classical Roman. And I mean, I've just started reading it, but I like, he's singing to the choir basically, or he's preaching to the choir that he realized how brutal and torturous and vicious pagans were. And they still are, even through the Middle Ages, even it was the pagans who still running things that still believed in torture. However, like I said in my other one about brutality is the only response to the way pagans are. That still obviously had to exist, but it was through a court system, or through a judicial act that sometimes these punishments were carried out. Pagans didn't do that. They just got you. They just captured you and did this, and slavery and all of that. Huge, widespread, commonplace. The point of in medieval torture, where the church was involved, there was a process. The Inquisition. The Inquisition was a process. Before the Inquisition, people were basically doing mob riots to kill Jews and Muslims who they thought were, false Christians. The mob was going out and killing them, and so the church said, "Oh, we got to stop this. We got to do it more civil, more civil." The Inquisition was an inquiry, a court system, so that we would find out. The mob would go crazy. We would stop that, and then do an inquiry ourselves. The church would so that it was done in a legal way. So there wasn't just wanton violence. Pagans believe in wanton violence and going after people and killing them and destroying them and torturing. Tom Holland describes in his book, and I've read this before too, the types of torture done to people before the church came in was beyond the pale. Church, we need church. Church tampers down all of our desires of brutality, including mine. Church helps tamper down my anger and my desire to be violent. Now I just do it in fun, silly ways. But it's the church. I've heard so many atheists say, "Oh, you need a God and a church to be good." I don't. I'm good all by myself. It's like, man, what arrogance! What arrogance on atheists to say that they're good. They don't need a God or you need something. You need some sort of morality. But if you don't have a God morality where there's an all-knowing, all-perceiving, infinite God that's part of your heart, then your goodness is good until you decide to change it. You can turn it on and off like a switch. Atheists don't want to say that, but they can, and they know they can. Logically speaking, your goodness, based on you deciding to be good, can be on and off whenever you feel like you need to turn it on and off. My goodness, because it's God and it's all pervasive, I cannot turn it on and off. I have to be consistent. And when I do fail, I have to admit that. I have to admit that I'm wrong. Not that I just turned it off for a little while and did some evil and then turn it back on. I can't do that. But atheists, in their arrogance, that's their arrogance. They're so good. They're the God. They're so good. They can do it whenever they want, or turn it off and then be evil and then turn it back on. Be good. That's what atheism is. I'm good. Well, you can be evil too, right? 50-50. No big deal. I mean, you don't even care what good or evil is. So the church is what we need. That's the answer. We need to build the church again. And the reason is that when you have a strong church, you then make men who have moral character. And right now, we just don't have that. In government, we are filled with witches. I feel like we're just full of witches and weak men. Witches and weak men have taken over the halls of governance, and the LGBTQ and all of them, Marxists, love government. Government is their church. That's why it's so easy for them to take over. They love it. They live there. They love walking around the halls and deciding things that affect all of our lives. Because the men of moral character are not there. Sadly, women have had to step up, which, is kind of sad because I'm quite sure. I mean, and some women love it, but Christian women, but some of them have had to stand up to do this ridiculously because where are the men? So church, and make sure that the church. From a little prop here. Make sure that when you go to a church, make sure that the pastor is doing this, okay? And he's not going like he reads from a section and is doing. It's called expository. I don't know, that's some big words that they use, and I'm like, I go to Pastor John MacArthur's church. So I experienced this event, but they read an entire section, okay, and go through it, and then do historical context, and then usually like halfway through the sermon, they'll start cross-referencing with other sections, based off of that section, historically and cross-section, because it all intertwines. And this is my new Legacy Bible I'm showing off because I'm pretending I'm rich. Sheepskin, wonderful. Of course, I haven't even read this one, but one day when I feel very elitist, I'm going to read this one. Okay. I'm still on my study Bibles, but so make sure the church you go to is like that. Obviously, male pastors only, no LGBTQ support, No BLM includes them. And don't if the pastor every Sunday just does a theme like love or charity, if that's like the theme, no. You can even rebuke them. Make sure that they're actually going through parts of the Bible and teaching you how. And it's an hour of lecturing on the Bible, because what they're doing is they're teaching you how to read the Bible. Okay, that's what the pastor is actually supposed to be doing, teaching you how to read the Bible. In the Catholics and I'm not sure about the Orthodox. I'm not very familiar with them, but the Catholics, the priest up there every Mass, which is only like 45 minutes, and he only has a little 10-minute homily in there. I used to be a Catholic. He's not teaching you how to read the Bible. That's the main contention I have. There's plenty of contentions about that, but about the Catholics. But you Catholics out there, please, I love you guys. I love the history, but you have to learn how to read the Bible for yourself. I don't know if the church agrees with that or not, the Catholic Church today, but think about it. You have to have that knowledge of the Bible with yourself, and it is wonderful. It is wonderful. When I read the Bible and I read what God says, when God jumps in, ooh, I get excited. I already know it's coming too, but when he starts to speak in different areas, when it's his words that he has them write down, this guy's a badass. I just love it, and he's all loving too. He's loving, but he's also a badass. And you're missing out if you're, an atheist. Sorry, you're missing out, man. If you're wondering about all of this in life, man, you're missing out. It is wonderful what I read in there about, when God speaks. You're like, you feel like there's something out there, that's something, but I'm like, man, if I wanted my kids to know who I am, I would write a book. I wouldn't make a video. I would write a book about who I am and my thoughts and stuff, because that book will last. Videos and YouTube and all this, that's not going to last. But a book will last. It'll survive. The physical thing. And the Bible has survived. And it survived everything. The Old Testament and the New Testament. So the church. So I was there for the Essential Church, or for the events. I was, I did return, I don't know, 6 weeks after it was locked down, and then we started returning. We heard through my daughter, through who knows the family, that they were returning to church. So we'd like, well, let's go back to church. So we started going back too, and then we saw the buildup of all the issues there, and so the essence of this documentary and of the church was that we confronted government. We confronted what they were saying, the COVID lockdowns, and they backed off. But no one else did. I mean, Tool, that rock band, or what was the rock? Not Tool. What's the rock band? The stupid rock band. The stupid one where they fight the machine, fight the. What's that? Oh man, they were so pathetic. Fight the power or whatever. F the power, or I won't do what you tell me. I won't do what you tell me. F you. I won't do what you tell me. Oh, I'll do what you tell me. What a bunch of cowards. What a bunch of cowards. Well, F you. I won't do what you tell me. Because they're so badass, but they freaking cowered when they were told what to do by the freaking Democrats, man. Democrats. But we Christians are like, we were discerning. We're trying to be discerning. We're trying to see, we don't just overreact. We try to make sure maybe the government's correct. Maybe those Fauci and BRICS are telling the truth. Maybe they are. So we should be careful and cautious and do this carefully. But then it was obvious, after week after week after week of this BS, it wasn't. And the church stood up to the government. Who else stood up to the government? Nobody. Where do you think your freedom comes from? It comes from people who defy this government and its tyranny over you, imprisoning us in our own homes. They want to do it again, and you know it. And they want to force jab you with stuff, and you know it. And who is the only people fighting that? It's the church. I understand there's a few individuals out there, but they're isolated, and they're going to easily be destroyed. It's the church is the bulwark, is the wall of freedom that's going to keep you free, you freaking atheists. The church is what is giving you the freedom that you have here in America and in Europe. And although yeah, it's waning. You're losing your freedoms, and you know it. You're losing your freedoms. They're not inherent anymore. The only way our freedoms can be inherent that the government can't take it away is that it was given to us by someone else more powerful than government, and that is God. Otherwise, the state gives you your rights, and if the state gives you your rights, the state will take away your rights. And that's what you atheists are now so in love with. You're in love that the state gives you your rights. The state is a bunch of corrupt politician people. The church, we as the church run based on what the Bible says, and we don't change it over time. Now, I understand that many churches are getting corrupt, and that's why I explained. Make sure the pastor is a man. It's pretty simple. Pro-life. Willingly speaks up and criticizes the Democrat Party and the gay, the LGBTQ. Willingly is against trans and LGBTQ. It's very easy to see this. Willingly says that openly. Go ask them. Go up and ask them. If you go to a church, just ask them. Are you against the LGBT? Are you against trans? Is it a sin? If they get out of there. They need to say, yes, it's a sin. That's the only church where they're going to be strong. We're going to be discerning. They're going to make men of moral character. And the women can chill and relax and enjoy their lives and raise their children. And if they want to do work, sure. I mean, the woman in Proverbs 28 or 32, whatever, the last chapter of Proverbs, read the description of the woman there. That's an amazing woman. That's what my wife is exactly. She as I'm sitting at the gate here at the YouTube gate, talking, and she's out there raising kids, waking up early, going to bed late, raising kids, making food, paying people, buying land, crafting stuff. And I'm just sitting here, hey, you guys on YouTube, make sure you go to the church. And that's a Jewish woman and that's a Christian woman. Anyway, so the church, you guys gotta, if you're a Christian or if you're wondering how to solve this problem, it's about building churches, rebuilding the church to a real church, not to a church that is in fear of the Lord and fear of Jesus Christ and loving Jesus Christ and loving the Lord and following the Bible and teaching you men how to read the Bible too. Because if the pastor teaches you how to read the Bible, then you can keep him in check. You all can iron sharpens iron. You all can keep each other in check when you're reading the Bible yourselves. When the men can study and read the Bible in the church, they can keep each other in check. And then somebody become elders. It's about keeping each other in check. That's what the church is. And Jesus Christ wants you to do a church. And I really like too, one of his recent sermons, Pastor MacArthur, is that pretty much all the New Testament is about church, building a church. From Acts on, all the epistles are letters to churches on building and how they need to correct themselves, blah, blah, blah. It's all about church. So if you're wondering what the solution is church. You got to get to a church. You got to build a church. You got to find a church, support it. Definitely support its school or homeschool program. Support the families. And then let them create the men who will go out and work on the society. If you're older, work on getting the next generation of men and women who will go out into society and that's not the right word. Control the asylum, run the asylum, and so that we don't have these pagans and insanity running the asylum. We have men who are discerning, who are Christian, who are in the fear of God. So having the fear of God, will be very careful in what I do to other people. Very careful, because I don't want to transgress God's laws. I don't want to take people's property. I don't want to murder people. I don't want to steal from people. I don't want to commit adultery with people. I don't want to enslave them so they don't get a day of rest. I don't want to blaspheme people. That's the kind of men you need to create, that churches will create. Churches will create men, politicians, who will not want to take your property, who will not want to steal from you, who will not want to murder you, and on and on. So rebuild the church. Build the church. And go check out this movie, Essential Church, and look for ways to get your church to be strong. And one way is, Grace Community Church has a seminary, and they make pastors, or they're training men to be pastors. So you can always try to find out if any, if there's any church in the area that has a pastor that came from Grace Seminary. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that. I don't know how that exactly works, but I mean, I could find out. Maybe I will. But I know they have it. Okay, so that's my little thing today. The answer. This earth is always going to be an asylum. It's always going to be crazy. It's just a matter of us deciding who's running it until Jesus comes, you know. And of course, you know, it says that it's going to get bad. But we still should be building a church no matter what and preparing for his return. So join a church. You know, you don't have to like enslave yourself to it. You volunteer, you joyfully, whatever you do in the church should be joyful and should fit your personality, how you support it. And if you find something weird, you know, say so, speak up, don't get angry. It's tough, even in church. It can get, you know, but there's the pastor and the elder should have some sort of even-headedness about it all and be in control. You know, and they have their, you know, they all work it out. You know, you could become an elder depending on how much you get involved. I'm not. I'm just on the periphery, supporting them, and I've involved myself in a few things, but then now I'm kind of focusing on this. Not these rants, but I'm trying to do the role playing game as a ministry to help people in a fellowship and edification. But it's kind of what I've been sort of figuring out for myself slowly. We'll see. I mean, maybe I should just go, you know, volunteer the church and move chairs around. I don't know. Anyway, so thanks for listening and just my thoughts on what's been going on and watching the Essential Church movie. Please go check that out. It's really good, really informative. Let me go back up here just for the fun of it. And, you know, you can check this page out. Oops. I want to check this page out for the purchase a Blu-ray or watch it somewhere. Okay. All right. In the game of life, roll holy dice.